Okay, this is CAD Methods. It's Lab 2.1, Part 1, Project 7-1, and it's on page 302 in your book. And when you get there, it's going to tell you you needed to complete Project 6-1 to get there. So I'm going to start with that right here. I'm on page 258, and what they want us to do is get some of the initial drawings set up together so that we can work on Project 7. So first thing I'm going to do, start a new file using the AutoCAD DWT. So I'm just going to start. Oh, I'm not going to start. I'm going to select the AutoCAD DWT and set my units. So I'm going to type units and architectural precision at 1/16 of an inch. And I'm going to say OK. Now they're going to help us out of here a little bit and set the LT scale to 6. So units lets us define what unit of measurement we want to use, but the LT scale, this lets us define how big the line is represented. So how, if we have dashes or dots in the line, a hidden line or a center line or a phantom line type, we have these different line types with dashes in the middle of them. The LT scale will help me scale those so that they're displayable. So I typed LT scale, I'm going to hit 6, and there it is. Now the next thing, create the following layers. So we need to create several different layers. So layers are just a method of stacking different things in our drawing so we can turn it on or off, make it visible or not. So what I'm going to do is I need to create these layers. Now you don't see, here it is. You do see, here's the layers. You have to be in the Home tab, and on the ribbon your layers will pop up. And when you click it, you're going to get these options. So I'm going to click the layer properties, and I'm going to get this box. And this is where I'm going to set up my new layers. So I'm going to drag this over a little bit so that I can see what it wants, so I can see what layers it wants me to create. So here we go. I have an A annotation note. I'm going to just start. So right here, you're going to see, looks like 3 stacks of paper with a little orange ball. So click that, and it's going to ask you, what do you want the new layer name to be? So I'm going to say A-anno-notes. So I need an architectural layer, annotation note layer. There, I can see that better. Okay. Now underneath all these, this works really similar to like your Windows File Explorer. So you can sort with these buttons on the top, and these buttons also allow you to set properties of the layer or control what's going on with the layer. So I'm on, freeze, lock, color, line types, line weight, transparencies, and we have all these other choices that we can choose. So I have a annotation note. I have that created as layer, and it says color 7. So I'm going to select that, and here are your colors. So I usually select these colors first before I jump up here, just because they're a little easier to work with. So color 7 happens to be white. My next one, an A door layer. So I'm going to 3 pieces of paper right here, and I'm going to hit it. I'm going to say A-door, and it tells me that the color is going to be color 4. So I'm going to select it, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see it's a cyan color. So now it's color 4. Now I'm going to go back up here to my annotation and architectural annotation note, color 7. It's a continuous line type. Now continuous line type right here, that's a default line type. That just means it's a straight line. There's no breaks, dots, or dashes in the middle of the line. But it does have a line weight of 0.25, and my A door has a line type of 0.3. So I'm going to pick that and select 0.25, just like it says here. And I'll select it right here and say OK. And you can see it gave me a line weight of 0.25. And a door layer, it's continuous, and it's 0.3. So I'm just going to select on the default, change 0.3, and oh, I didn't say apply. Say OK. There it goes. Okay. So now we have that. We now need to add some more layers. I'm going to start off, I'm going to add this new layer right here, and I'm going to create this one here called Equipment Hidden. So it's an architectural layer. So it's a dash equip. Oh, so it's EQPM dash hidden. So it is going to be color 7. So that's going to be white again, so I really don't need to pick that. And it's going to be a hidden layer. So I'm going to click on the word continuous, and you see I don't have anything in here but a solid line. So these are things that you can add to the drawing. So I'm going to load. Now there's no reason to load everything, so I'm just going to pick any one of them, and I type HI, and it'll take me down to the hidden. Now it doesn't say it's a hidden 2 or a hidden 0.5, it just says hidden, so I'm going to select hidden, say OK. And now if I say OK, it's going to take this continuous and apply it to my line type here. So you got to make sure you select the word hidden and then say OK. And then I'm going to go through and add the rest of my layers. Okay, skipping ahead a little, I've gone in, I've added all my layers, and I've given them all the identified color. I've given them all the identified line weight, and I've added the descriptions on the end. So if I wanted to sort, say I needed to sort them for some reason, I can just click. I want to sort them all by color or line type or line weight. Maybe to help me find something, because sometimes this list can get really long. So this check mark here means that this is the current layer. Now just because we draw something doesn't mean we can't move things to different layers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this up out of the way. Let's see what it says. Right here, draw the monitor, computer tower, mouse, chairs, and keyboards shown in the figure. Draw the desk on the furniture layer. So let's draw the desk first. So I'm going to close this. I can double click on the furniture layer, and that check mark will indicate that it's my current layer. I'm going to close my layers. I can always get it back coming up here to layers and property. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to type the word properties, and it's going to pull up the properties of whatever I select. So right now my current layer, when I draw things, it's going to be on the furniture layer. So it tells me my desk is 4'8" by 4'3". So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make this a little bigger. You can't ever have too much room when you draw. So I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to draw a line starting anywhere, and turn my ortho on, so I'll hit F8, and I'll say 4'8", drag to the right, and it drew me a line, and it's a big line compared to what I have showing on the screen. So I'm going to hit escape, and I'm just going to zoom extents, and that's from end to end. That's my 4'8" line. You can just scroll the mouse out. Now I'm going to F7 and turn the grid off, just so you can see better. And I'm going to draw a line from shift left right click from the end point there, and I'm going to drag it up, and it says it's 4 feet 3 inches. Click, and then 4 feet 8 inches, and then I can just come down and right click, shift right click, and connect that up. Now if I look down here in the book, it says it's 1'6" by 1'6" for this L shape in the desk. So that's pretty easy, just like we did in the calculator exercise. I'm going to offset 1'6", and I'm just going to pick here and pick up. I'm going to pick this line and pick left, and trim, enter, and I can take all these extra lines out. I now have my desk. Now it doesn't give me, these are for representation purposes only, and it doesn't give me specific dimensions for the mouse and the keyboard. They're just there for representation purposes only. So however you want to draw the chair is up to you. Maybe we can draw it similar to what they have. Let's see. Probably the easiest thing to do would be to start drawing a rectangle. Draw it across, and draw another one. I'm just going to draw it a little bit bigger. And I'm not going to be too exact with it here. And I kind of get a rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a command called fillet. It's probably not necessarily part of this exercise, but that's okay. I'm going to use fillet, and I'm going to give it a radius of, I don't know, let's say 3 inches. Hit enter, and then let me pick. That's too much. So I'm going to say fillet with a radius of, oh, I didn't say 3. I'm going to say 3. Click, click, invalid. The radius is too large. So fillet, radius, and let's say 1. Click, click, and you can see how it rounds out those corners for me, but there's still a little bitty flat spot right there on the edge. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to do that again on the other side. Click, click, fillet, enter, click, click, and it rounds that out. Now some of the commands you're supposed to use are move, copy, and mirror when we get to working on the room. So right now I'm going to move, so M-O-V-E. It's also up in the modify command on the ribbon. And so move, I'm going to select this object and hit enter. And I'm going to shift right click and say from the midpoint. And I'm going to shift right click and say I want to move it to the midpoint. So you have to pick where you want to move it from and then where you want to move it to. So because I picked the midpoint, it moved from point to point. I'm going to try that fillet again. From here to here, from here to here. Looks like I need some armrests. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to draw a circle. That looks like a good size armrest, so I'm going to say copy. I'm going to pick it. I'm just going to, with my ortho turned on, I can just drag it straight down. And that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to draw a line, so I'm going to shift click from, looking for my quadrant to quadrant. Quadrants on a circle. If I click on this, I can see the 4 grips. Those are also your quadrants on a circle. They're always left, right, and up, down. Even if I were to rotate this circle, say 45 degrees, those quadrants and those grips will always be in that orientation. They don't rotate with the object. Not so with like a line. You can rotate a line around and it'll move its grips. So I'm going to draw another line from quadrant to quadrant. And then trim, enter, and I can delete that bit. Now, this is a chair, so I'm going to take this whole thing and kind of move that over there. And I'm going to pan over. And I'm going to copy. I'm not going to copy. I'm going to mirror, because one of the commands we're supposed to use is mirror. So, I'm going to say mirror. I'm going to select all of these things. Now, I've selected all the objects, and I'm going to hit enter, and it says specify the first point of the mirror. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to give it someplace in the middle of this object, and the easiest thing to find the middle is going to be to shift right click and say I want to pick a midpoint, and pick that here, rotate that around. Now I've got my ortho turned on, so if I turn my ortho off, you can see this thing is going to mirror, it's going to make a copy of this in a circle. But I don't want that. I want to turn my ortho on, and that'll restrict it to just going in some specific directions. So I'm going to drag it down, going to pick, and then I get a choice. Do you want to delete the original or not? Well, I'm going to say no. I can either say enter, or I can just click the word no, and it's done. So then trim, enter, enter, and I can get rid of that line in the middle of my chair. So now, if I look at the chair, it looks like the front of it's rounded. Okay, let's try something else. I want to draw an arc. I know where these, let's do a 3-point arc. So let's see how that works. I'm going to draw from an end to an end. Let me turn that ortho off. And you can see that's not exactly how I want the arc, because you have 3 points, so I'm not quite getting that third one. Let's try that again. Arc, 3-point, from the end point to shift right click the midpoint to shift right click to the end point. So it's when you do the 3-point arc, it's 1, 2, 3, not like we did in the other labs. I'm just going to delete that, and then that goes away, and that looks like an okay chair. It's a little big. That's okay. So I'm going to move. So I'm going to type the command move. I'm going to pick just my chair. Now, when you make your selections, you have several choices when you make your selection. So right here, this is a selection set. And I've clicked at the top left and I'm dragging to the bottom right, and you can see I get the solid line and a blue square. And when I pick it, I get all of the chair. Now if I do that again, but I go from the right to the left, you can see I get a dashed line and a green square. And when I select it, you can see that I get not only my chair, but I get one of my lines on my desk. Now the reason I did that, or I get that, is because the selection set's going from right to left with the green square with the dashed line. Anything that line crosses, touches, or completely encompasses will be selected. But if I pick from the left to the right and I get the blue and a solid line, only things that are completely inside that box get selected. So I typed move, I selected my chair, I hit enter, I'll pull it out, and now it's away from the desk a little bit. Maybe I'll move it over a little bit more. Now, one of the other things we're supposed to cover, rotate. Because my chair is kind of turned a little bit in my diagram. So I'm just going to click in the middle of it, kind of pull this out so I can get a little bit more control, turn that chair a little bit. That looks pretty good. Okay, now, I didn't draw that on the right layer, did I? Furniture, what's it say? It's furniture, that's okay. I don't have a specific chair layer that they gave me here, so I'm just going to leave it on the furniture layer. Let's try. I'm on the furniture layer, and I can see that here too. If I click on my layers, I can see that my current layer is furniture. Now, I'm going to do this 2 different ways. I'm on the furniture layer, and I'm going to draw a rectangle right now to represent that computer tower that they have drawn right here. So there it is, and it's clearly on the wrong layer. So what I'm going to do, I just have it selected. I have this properties open, and I get that just by, let me close it for you. Let's see, close. And I get that up by just saying properties. Most people when they're drafting have the properties open all the time. They never close it. So that's how that gets turned on. And I select my computer tower, and it tells me it's on the A furniture layer and some other information about it. Well, I'm just going to select that and tell it that I need it on the equipment hidden layer. And then when I come over here, you can see it's now on the equipment hidden layer. Another way to change that would be to select it and come up here and just select any layer, and it'll change it for you. So let's put that back on the equipment hidden layer, and we need a keyboard. So let's see. It says computer tower, mouse, and keyboard shown. Draw those. Put the desk. Okay. So this is probably going to be a piece of equipment. It didn't define it, so I'm just going to say that it's a piece of equipment. So what I should do is I should come up here and say layer, change to equipment, and I'm just going to draw a little rectangle. They got a widescreen and a circle. And we'll put that circle, shift right click on the midpoint of that back line, and just draw a circle. And I'm going to trim that out. Oh, that's not right. It doesn't look good at all. Trim the circle, because you can see the top of the monitor, not the base. Okay. And then I'm going to draw another rectangle for my keyboard. Now you can kind of see that they've got some lines drawn on the keyboard, so we can do that too, I guess. I'm just going to draw a line coming across. Just any line, make sure my ortho's turned on. And I'm going to copy. I'm going to pick it, hit enter, pick, 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 and I'm drawing a keyboard. Now they've also got a little mouse down here. How are we going to draw a mouse? Let's pan over here a little bit. Let's say it's an ellipse. And it's kind of like that. And I'm just going to draw a line kind of through it, and a line from the top quadrant. Shift right click and drag it down, and then I can just trim this up. Trim, enter, enter, and it looks like a mouse to me. It's a big mouse. Okay, so now I'm using 3 different layers, and I've created my desk, which is on Project 6-1 Classroom Plan, creating your layers, and it's on page 258. That's how you get started. Okay, now we can work on Project 7-1. So this is for Module 2. Create a classroom plan continued from Chapter 6. So this is Chapter 6 here. That's what we just finished. Now we need to draw this room. So I'm going to zoom out quite a bit. And I'm going to change to my layer called A wall. So architectural walls. And it says here, 43 feet along one side, 31 feet 8 inches on the other side. So I'm going to draw a line. And I'm going to try to hit that so that desk is kind of in the middle, but I'm going to say 38. Nope, that's not right. 43 feet even. And it'll draw that line. So then 38, oh my gosh, 31 feet 8 inches up, 43 feet. Oh, no, see, I didn't type feet, so I got a 43-inch line there. So I'm going to U-enter and drag that over again. So I undo and enter, and I'm still in the line command. So it just undid that last line that I drew. So 43 feet. 40, oh, there we go. 43 feet. And then I'm bring it down. And because I could say go to the end point, but because I started here and I continued all the way around and I didn't end the line command, I can just say C for close. And there it is. Now, tells me I've got a couple of doors, and it tells me that, let's see, the layers in the doors, place the heater on the equipment layer. The wall next to the heater is 8 inches thick, and the heater is 12 inches thick, so 1 foot wide. The doors on each are 3 feet, so that's standard. You have to have a 36-inch door standard for most everything. And the heater is, let's see. Okay, so I've got some things going on here. And did it tell me how wide the walls were? No, I don't think so, other than this one side. So if I look, these dimensions here, they end on the outside, which means any thickness I give to the walls is going to be on the inside. So I'm going to say offset 8 inches from here to here. And then I'm going to say offset, I don't know, 5 inches. That's a typical wall. 2x4s plus drywall, and Now that I have my walls offset, I need to trim, enter, enter. So TR, enter, enter, and clean those up so that we don't have those extra lines in there. Pan that down. And TR, enter, enter, click, click. Zoom extents. Zoom in over here. Pan that over a little. TR, enter, enter. And just pick the lines we want to go away. Scroll out, pan up, there it is. Zoom in around here. Trim, enter, enter. Okay, so now I'm already up there in this portion of the room, and that's up here. I need to add this door. So it tells us that doors are 3 feet wide, and that it's to the center of the door is 2 feet 4 inches. So, and that's from the outside. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to zoom in around here, and I'm going to be working in this section here. I'm going to offset 2 feet 4 inches from the outside down, and that's going to give me the center of my door. So I'm going to draw a door. Now, it's this door here. It's 3 feet wide, and I'm going to change my layers to a door. Now, I always like to draw my doors kind of out here and then move them into place, but it doesn't really matter. We have a 30-inch door, so, well, it is a 30-inch. It's a 3-foot door, 36-inch door. So we could offset this line, half of that 36. But I'm going to draw my door first over here. So I'm going to draw a circle with a diameter of 36 inches. And that's going to give me this portion right here on my door. And then just as for construction purposes, I'm going to draw a line from quadrant to quadrant. And then from quadrant just anywhere out here so that you have something that represents a door. And you can see that here it kind of extends past, so that's okay. So that's good there. So then I'm going to trim, and I'm going to select this line and this line. I didn't trim, enter, enter. I said trim, enter, and then pick these two objects, hit enter, and I can click, click, and it went away. Now I left that line here, and that line is not there. Now here's why I left that. This is 36 inches from one side to the other. So if I were to move this whole thing from shift right click to the midpoint here to that end point or that intersection, there, I'm almost done. So all I need to do now is trim. First I'm going to pick that line and delete it. You can see that I have my door in there. I'm going to trim this out. I don't need that anymore either. Now I'm going to draw a line just from here over. Whoops, that's not right. I need to make sure I have my ortho turned on. And then from here over, trim, enter, enter, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Now these things here are not really part of the door, they're part of the wall. So I need to come up here to my properties and change them to a wall. And again, if you don't have this up, just type properties in the command line and it'll come right up. So I have a door. Now there's another door down here, sort of in the middle of the room, the bottom of the page, and it says it's 19 feet from the left. So I'm going to offset 19 feet from here to here. Now this exercise is all about copying stuff, so I'm going to copy. C-O-P-Y. I'm just going to select I'm just going to select all of that and just bring it down here. Let's see what that gives us. Not quite the right stuff. So again, pan this up so you can see it So that door, this mark right here, I'm going to draw a line from here to the end point, shift right click, there. Now that's on the inside, so I'm going to rotate. So RO, or you could grab it from up here, rotate. And select all of this. I want to rotate it from shift right click from this midpoint. Now I'm going to turn my ortho on. I could rotate it with a number. Say I could rotate it 90 or negative 90 or 180 degrees or whatever I needed it to, but I'm going to turn my ortho on, and that's going to allow me to look at it. I can see here that the door swings out. So I'm just going to rotate it until it's swinging out on the bottom. There it is. But look, it's not swinging out the right way. So I'm going to use a different command here. Remember when we created the armchair, I used a mirror command for the armrest. So I'm going to use mirror here, and we're going to do this a little different this time. I'm going to select all of it. I'm going to pick next to it so I can see what happens. Now I've got my ortho turned on, and I can see I get a copy of the door, which is a mirror image of it. I'm going to say click, and it's going to ask me a question. Do you want to delete this source object? Yes. Now I have my single door. Move, M, enter. I'm going to move it from that midpoint there and move it to this intersection. Now, how you create your door and how you create some of this, you might have to kind of modify the directions. And then I'm just going to trim, enter, enter, and get rid of that. And get rid of that. Now I've got two doors, and I'm ready to place the furniture. So I'm going to start, I guess I could start right here. It gives me a typical number, 36 inches between the desks. Not the chair, but between the desks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to place one. I'm going to move, M, enter, select all of that. I'm going to select out here, and I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to turn my ortho off so I can kind of move it to where I want. I'm going to just kind of place it. Now that let me place that desk. Now, watch this. I'm going to mirror. I'm going to select this whole desk, chair, computer, and all that stuff. And what I'm going to do this time, select the objects. I did that. Hit enter. What's your mirror point? I'm going to select this intersection right here, or an end point. Either one of them would be fine. I'm going to click it, and see I'm creating a copy of my desk. But if I just turn on my ortho, drag that line down, click, delete the source object. Do you want to erase that? No. So click it. Look at that. I've now got two of my desks. Now this gets easier and easier the farther we go. I'm going to copy, C-O-P-Y, or you can use the copy function up here. Make sure you don't forget this line, but select all this stuff. I'm going to copy from intersection to intersection. That's pretty good. Now watch this. All I'm going to do, you don't want to have a bunch of lines on top of lines, so I'm going to create this as just a construction line, and I'm going to delete it in a minute. I'm going to offset 36 inches because it says so. Distance between them is 36 inches. And I'm going to click it and put it right there. Now I'm going to copy. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to copy them from this, shift right click, this endpoint here to this endpoint here. What did I do? Oh, I see what I did. So I made a mistake. Happens all the time. So I'm going to say U, enter, and that undid my zoom. I'm going to hit enter again, and that undid my copy. So here's what I need to do. Copy, select my objects, hit enter, shift right click from this endpoint to this endpoint. There they are. Draw my line based on that endpoint, offset 36 inches, and then copy from this endpoint, shift click to this endpoint. And there it is. I have half that classroom drawn already. Now, this part can be a little messy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this whole thing so that my UCS, this thing here, this XY, so that that's not in the middle of what's going on. So you can see what's going on. Okay. So I have all these desks over here. And I need to draw the heater. So I don't want to run into that heater. So I'm going to, it said that heater was 1 inch wide. So I'm going to offset 12 inches. So 12 inches is 1 foot. And I'll put that, it said the heater belongs on, the heater is on an equipment layer. So I'm just going to change that to equipment. So there's my heater. Now, I need to copy all these desks. So this is extra fast and extra easy. I'm going to type mirror, enter. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to pick sort of the middle of the whole deal. Got my ortho turned on. If I don't have my ortho turned on, you can kind of see it's kind of strange. But I turn my ortho on and drag it down. Click. Do you want to delete the source objects? No. And I'm almost done. Take all these desks here, move, enter. I want to move them from a base point here to, now I've got my ortho turned on, to just kind of over here, closer to the wall. Maybe a little closer. Okay, so now this row has 1 extra desk. There's 4 seats here and there's 3 seats here. So 4 seats here and 3 seats here. That means we need 1 more row over here. So I'm going to mirror all of this. Now if you're going to miss a line, it's going to be this one right here. So I'm just going to select that. I'm going to mirror it from that intersection to over there. Delete, no. And then you have your choice of how you want to create these rest of them. I'm just going to copy this stuff. Make sure I get all my lines from here to here to here. And then that is Project 7, Lab 2.1, Part 1, Classroom Plan, continued from Chapter 6.